Welcome back to your favorite comedy finance channel. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe. Don't forget MYCNETWORK.CRYPTO across all social media accounts. I have Robert Mao with ArcBlock, and today, we had community questions that they've been dying for answers, and I wanted to have this interview with you so that way we could get some questions directly from the community. So we will be bouncing around a little bit topic to topic. But let's get started, and thank you for coming back and spending the time with us to answer a few questions. And I just want to say how thankful we are that you're so communicative with us in general and the rest of the community of ArcBlock.
Yeah, it's good to come back, and as always, I really happy to answer the questions, discuss technical questions and products. As always.
Cool, awesome. Now another thing too, when I took over Telegram, I thought it was going to be so easy, but I cannot get rid of all the bots. I told everybody to, I'm going to try to take care of as many bots as I can, but let's focus on making sure that all eyes from the community go to the Twitter account for Robert Mao and also arcblock.io. Make sure you guys follow the Twitter account, Robert Mao and ArcBlock. Follow DID Labs as well. So those are where you're going to have direct communication with Robert. If you guys have questions or any concerns or anything like that, he's there, and he's so welcoming when it comes to just talking to the community, because every project, it takes time, and it's going to take a community that's going to find eventually more and more developers. And I know there's a couple companies already working with you that we're going to be going over with you today. But there's a big topic right now, and the more and more I learn about DID, I understand the dangers of centralized exchanges, but I also understand that this is opening up a big pathway for decentralized exchanges and going back to self-custody. I think the crypto space as a whole has been kind of backing off of the DeFi type of ideology. We're supposed to have our keys. We're not supposed to give our keys away. So I wanted to ask you, what you thought about this whole SBF thing, but I also wanted to ask you, what could DID build where, you could have your own centralized or decentralized exchange? Because I feel like this is kind of where the future is going, where we're going to step away from that centralization and kind of go towards, because I thought in my head, why can't wallets do what they're doing? You could eventually, I can imagine you could if you have all the money on your wallet, you can exchange, any type of tokens. What's to stop you from being able to scan items and pay for those right off of your wallet, right? So tell us what you think about, this whole SBF fiasco, but, tell us what DID could do that could solve issues like this in the future for when maybe a decentralized exchange is built on ArcBlock.
Yeah, it's so shameful that we have these kind of incidents, and it has impact for so many of the people. And I think that's really, really bad. However, this problem is exactly showing us why we need decentralized applications, why we need Web3, right? So all of those centralized exchanges, they have the name for the crypto exchange, but the way they architect the whole system are just a perfect example for how the Web2, how those kind of centralized applications is actually control your asset, and they make decisions on your behalf, and you have no control of your account or your assets. So the only difference is, for example, if your personal information is locked in Facebook or Twitter's, what you lose is your privacy, all your information. You could have lost your contact of your WeChat, your messengers. In exchange, what you get lost is your assets, right? So they're different type of assets, either your information or your crypto.
Yeah.
So the problem right now is not exact. The problem we appear right now is exactly show the crypto space and the blockchain space really need to take it seriously for such an important component like exchange. Everybody want to use it, right? So we need to build this exchange on the blockchain and on the decentralized technology, and then not let people just using the old school centralized exchange to take advantage of the decentralized world. Right.
Yeah.
I think this incident should let us to remember like the old days when the Bitcoin was first introduced. The people, those geeks, they're excited about the Bitcoin. It's first time ever there's a technology to let you completely have a full control of your asset. Right? So the principle is not your private key, not your tokens. Right.
Yeah, exactly.
But centralized exchange is kind of like the people try to let people forget about this. And now I think this unfortunately, this incident impacted so many people, but it's also a very good wake up for people. Say we need a better infrastructure. We need a better system.
I have no idea why, and that's a very good point. I don't know why we continue to pander to centralization when we're in crypto to decentralize ourselves from banks, and these exchanges are operating just like banks, which is why they don't have enough reserve for what's going on what these exchanges are doing most of the time. That's why they're insolvent for how many assets they're supposed to be able to withdraw or what have you, or that's why these bank runs or crypto exchange runs happen. So I was looking at your Twitter and I noticed that you're trying to get out to the world what could be built on DID. So you could clearly build a decentralized exchange on top of ArcBlock if you wanted to through the DID?
I think ArcBlock platform is representing a new type of platform that is solely focused on the decentralized applications. To the decentralized application, basically what we mean decentralized, there's in different pillars, right? The first pillar is a decentralized identity. That basically means every user have the full control of your identity, their connections, their digital assets, anything. Right? So this is one pillar. The other pillar is decentralized computing, which means when you use application, your application is not controlled by a third party. You can take it anywhere. You can run it anywhere, right? You could have your application run on your own device, your own cloud. Share with your friends or family, or you can use a shared one. But basically you have the full control on it, right? So the third is a protocol over the platform, which is when you use application, for example, exchange, it's supposed to be a protocol. Imagine for today when we want to exchange. Imagine if I want to exchange our BTC to Ethereum. Why do I need to go to the Binance, FTX, or any of the hundreds of those different exchanges, right? They're basically the same thing. Why can't we just do it unifiedly? So ArcBlock's decentralized application platform, we try to build this kind of layer, this foundation for anybody who want to build a real decentralized apps, not building an app just to have the name called a decentralization, called a DID, but actually the fact that they're doing something that still want to take advantage of the users.
I noticed that they do a lot of ring words and stuff like that, and one thing I wanted to ask you, because a lot of people, when they think of Web3, they just think, oh, decentralization, but what does that mean? I feel like more and more people need to understand the big difference between somebody just saying Web3 just to say Web3 and actually understanding what Web3 means. Web3 is when you own everything, right? You own the platform, you own the server, you own the device, or whatever the case is. What would be your best explanation, or what can investors do to decipher between somebody using a ring word and the real thing? That'd probably be the best question for that.
Yeah, that's a very good question. So a very popular explanation of what Web3 is. I really like A16Z's. One of the partnering A16Z's, he coined this concept called Web1 is mostly for read. Right? So in the very old days, that's completely from the consumer point of view, right? In the very old days, most people, when they get into the internet, all you can do is read. some professional people, some journalists probably can create some web pages. Right? So the Web 2.0 movement is basically allow everybody to be able easily to contribute. It removed the barrier to create a website, to share the content. You can create a long form post like blogs. You can very easily share in your social network, or just write a tweet or send a picture like Instagram. Right? So the Web3, the key differentiators for the Web3 is you are in control and you own everything. Right? So this is in the awaken from the Web 2 that people contributed a lot to the success of those big Web 2 companies. And you put your data, your information, your whole life in the Web 2, and they make a lot of money, but that has nothing to do with you. And also they could sell your information, or their information get hacked, and you get hurt for nothing. Right?
See, I like
so the Web3.
Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, I think the Web3 is, again, this is a movement to allow the users have the full control. So what is Web3? Don't look at the appearance or somebody just claim, okay, we are Web3. Just look at a few things. First of all, do they need you to do any kind of registration, right? So imagine, for example, let's use a Bitcoin and an exchange as to understand this, right? For a Bitcoin, we all know if you want to have a Bitcoin Ethereum wallet, you do not need to register account like you do in the Facebook, Twitter, right? You just have a wallet and then it creates that for you. So that process is called a self-claim, because we claim we are ourselves. We do not need anybody to kind of register that for us. But if you come to any of this decentralized exchange, you need to register. Say, hey, I need to register, give my email, password, all of those information before you can have account. This is called registration. That basically means you give away your information in exchange for just a rent account from those exchanges.
And to me, this is kind of where DID comes into play, because the problem is that people use centralized exchanges out of accessibility and out of user friendliness. And what DID is trying to do is make it more user friendly, so it could be a better alternative in the future. In the future, I think DID is definitely way much better than today's Web 2 registration process. First of all, you no longer need to register your account for so many hundreds of different services again and again. Terms and
agreements, you put your email address, everything again, right? For the DID, you just one shoot. You just decide if I want to give it, I have a signature, and then boom, I'm there, right? I think something even bigger is for the verification, because another important concept that is connected to DID is verifiable credentials. So the verifiable credentials is just imagine this is like a modern technology of your ID, of your passport, of the visa. And you can securely store those credentials in your digital wallet, and you can present to whoever that need to use them. In a way that is one technology called a selective disclosure, right? So you don't need to disclose everything when they only need a few of the information. Imagine when you buy alcohol in the supermarket, right? So all they need to do is the law require them to check your age. Is that about 21st, right? But you don't need to tell them exactly how old are you. Of course, you should not tell them your driver license number and your home address, right? But today, with all technology, when you give your ID, you actually expose a lot of information, which is not necessary, right?
That's true. You show them your address, you show them, the numbers and all that stuff. So that's kind of what's cool about DID in a way, because it kind of adds that convenience, but it also limits what's actually needed to prove yourself. So you are sovereign identity, right? Yeah,
that's very important. So you only need to give them a little bit of information that is required. And even better, there is technology called zero knowledge proof, or limited, sometimes more accurately, is a limited knowledge proof. You only give them a proof. But without giving them a lot of detailed informations to prevent you expose the privacy, right? So with the DID and the verifiable credentials in the future, when you register the different, not register, when you come to different exchange or financial services, you can probably very easily to provide them the government required, like KYC, AML, all those information that the government required. You provide them by not providing them anything related to your privacy. Right? Today, for example, if I want to open an account in a random small exchange, I don't know who is behind the exchange. They say, hey, I need your KYC.
Yeah, it could be SBF.
They get your passport. You don't know who you are giving to, right? You're probably giving the passport to a criminal organizations. You have no idea. But with the decentralized identity and the verifiable credential, whenever you see something, they want to give you the verification. You give them the verification, which is only a proof, only a piece of hash data. That proof lets them comply in the government law. So, okay, I know this customer has passed the KYC and the AML and is complying with like term of service for me. While I have no idea, none of the personal information, none of those kind of critical information was leaked to them.
So
that's amazing technology. I think this is totally should be everybody should use that. I don't see any reason why people do not use that.
Well, I mean, you think about it, a lot of people don't understand how much they actually need it or how much time it saves. How many times have you lost your personal ID? How many times have you lost your debit card, your credit card? Think about all the manufacturing it takes to print all this plastic. You see what I'm saying? You know, all of these things are eventually going to go away in the future where all you're going to need is a digital wallet. All you're going to need to do to prove that you're over 21 is scan something that'll prove to you or prove to the other person that you're of age or, you know, that you could pay for something, whatever the case, you know. Because nowadays they want to check your ID, and then if you use your credit card or you use your debit card, they want to check your they want to check the debit card for the name, and then they want to check the name on top of the on the ID as well, you know, or they want to check the signature. There's so many things that they got to do. It's these little pieces of time, and then also the material it takes to make all of these things. It's not only bad for the environment, but, you know, I think in general it's going to cut costs by a lot, you know, just to stop producing all these plastic cards all the time. Have everything all in one wallet. You know, if you want a different token, you can exchange it on that same wallet, you know, and the user friendliness of the DID wallet is going to supersede the user friendliness of an exchange. And to keep it the more and more I think about this, I get a little bit more excited a little bit. I'm going to try not to get excited. I'm going to stay calm. But you think about it, everyone is so willing and so conditioned to give up all their information to these centralized exchanges, and you don't know who they are. You just trust them blindly. And for all we know, they could be SBF himself or any of these other, you know, bad practices out there. But this is the whole point. When you have a DID wallet and you can exchange different tokens or you could have different IDs, you're not going to need to worry about who you're trusting on the other hand. You just got to trust yourself. That's it, because you're the owner. You're the owner of everything. So let me add on to this real quick. So let me ask you this: So you said that, you know, there's the ability to build on Blocklet, a decentralized exchange in some sort of way. Now clearly you're not going to be the one doing it because you have your platform to take care of, but this is your whole point of gathering different companies or different developers to build on top of ArcBlock to deliver this innovative technology. What are you doing to incentivize people to come build with you?
Yeah, so that's a very good question. So when you are trying to, I like to use an analogy. This is a very method for you to easier to understand the whole thing, right?
Yeah.
So I think for a real builder, imagine we're building a house, right? Imagine we're going to build a house from the in a wasteland, right?
Yeah.
So if we want to build a nice house, are we going to build everything by our own hand from scratch? Usually we were not, right?
No.
So we will find different vendors to help us to build this together. We're going to use a ready technology to build this all together. So I would say this is always something that I firmly believe. As a real builder, what's the biggest incentive for me to decide to use what kind of technology to build? The biggest incentive should be this is a good technology. This is a good product. This is a good technology. This is the biggest incentive. This is not about how many rebate, how cheap it is. Right? Just imagine when you build a house. When you are in your budget, would you like to consider the builder who is the cheapest, who can even give you a rebate? Hey, if you select me, I'm going to give you 50%. This sounds very fishy, right?
Yeah.
Or some builder imagine say, hey, I will give you money if you let me build your house. Does this make sense? It doesn't make sense.
For me personally, I've always been a person that will buy time, convenience, and quality. And even if I have to pay a little bit extra, I'm always going to pay a little bit extra. And that is true. As a builder, the technology is going to be great. But again, here's something that a lot of people aren't getting. We're in it to build. We're in it for the technology. However, clearly there's a demand for a technology like this to build because of the things that happened in the crypto space recently, SBF and the centralized exchanges. And the centralized exchanges aren't going to want to hear this type of stuff because this kind of eats at their business model. Or in general, we saw SBF trying to lobby, the Democrats for whatever reason, but clearly he was trying to get into regulation to try to take away from DeFi. And that's the whole counter interest party to what DeFi is supposed to be about. And it's a shame that so much PR and so much marketing is done for centralization when that is literally the opposite of why we're here to begin with. So I think a lot of people are missing the boat, and they need to wake up fast, because if they were up and they were awake to what's going on, they would have saw this coming a million miles away. I'm always a firm believer. As soon as I buy any sort of token, it doesn't matter where it's at. It's going to go in my ledger, my Engrave, or whatever, cold wallet storage I got, or whatever the case. I use DID for ArcBlock, so it's about self-custody, you know what I mean? And that's the point. Let me ask you this too. To add on to this topic now. So I had one of my community members, they asked me if somebody was going to build an app, okay, I'm sure you could build basic to something that's enterprise level, but how many blocklets is it going to take? Let's say you wanted to build a Discord type of app or whatever the case. I'm building Odd app, and I've already shown you kind of some pictures and a little bit of video of it. How many blocklets would I need, let's say, if I wanted to build on ArcBlock?
Yeah, so that's a very good question. So in average, we are expecting for a very comprehensive product, probably you need to have about 5 to 10 different blocklets. We are expecting probably you need to build some of them for yourself and then hopefully reuse more than 50 or even 80% of the blocklet that others built for you. Right? Again, I would like to use it. Imagine you are decorate the home, right?
Yeah.
You're decorate the home. Your home is yours, and you need to spend your time to decide how to decorate. But will you build your sofa, your couch from scratch? No, you just buy a couch, right? Yeah. So there's hundreds of different couches. So just look at around your home. How many different of those components in your home are actually completely different? There's not much. We just have our home. We have a desk, we have chairs, we have couches, we have TVs, and probably we have speakers. Not that much, right? And similarly, when we can look at, for example, like Facebook. We can imagine. Let's have a quick analysis for the Facebook. What Facebook have for application point of view? So Facebook have a profile page, which is basically showing your information. Facebook have a message feed. So that message feed is a wall of the new messages. And Facebook has a photo feature that you can share the photos and it displays the photo albums. How many else?
So each
right?
feature would almost be one blocklet, or it depends. Like let me ask you this: did you watch the video I did with the blocklets where I was kind of putting together how they could be monetized? When I was doing the whiteboard, did you happen to catch a little bit of that? What basically?
Yeah. So for example, like for Facebook or Twitters, if you kind of if first you you kind of analyze what kind of module they have, you will find Facebook and Twitter, they're all about the same. They all have profile page, they all have discussion, they all have the feed, they all have some kind of a media like photo galleries.
Yeah.
So they just kind of decorated differently, so that become Facebook, that become Tinder, that become Twitter, right?
Yeah.
So for the component, usually one of the component is focused to do one thing. We actually, when we build our blog, we really we have a few principles, right? The first principle that we take is from the Unix system. So the system is the first principle called do one thing and do it well. Each of the blocklet, when you create a blocklet, you can put a lot of feature inside a blocklet. But what we recommend is one block is do one thing and do it really well. So in our blog, if you look at the stores, so we have a few ready to use blocklet. For example, one blocklet called a publish kit. So we have a kit series. We have a discussion kit, publish kit, media kit. Each of those kit is do one thing. For example, the publish kit is a kit that lets you to create a post. No matter this post is a blog, is a picture, is a Twitter-like message feed, you just use this publish kit to create that, right? We have a discussion kit. So discussion kit is used for comments, for conversations.
That's amazing.
For a message board, right? So the discussion kit can be used when I want to comment on a photo, or when I want to comment on a blog, or I want to comment on a picture. They're actually the same. You don't need to rebuild the comment for photo, for blog, and for picture time and time again. You just use one discussion kit to do that, right? So for the media kit, we use to handle the media, like your photo, like the videos, like all those kind of upload. You don't have to build that again. You don't need to kind of consider how to optimize those medias. Just use the media kit to do it. Right? So those different kits, when you compose them together, you can create that into a new Reddit, a new BBS, a new blog,
a new LinkedIn,
or anything.
A new LinkedIn, maybe?
Totally. You will see that. We have amazing guys who is trying to doing this.
Yeah, I did hear something through the grapevine, if you're able to replace LinkedIn, then I don't see why you'd be able to replace Facebook. Now, here's another thing that I wanted to touch base on, and this is something I really want to hammer home here, is when I realized how Blocklet worked when it came to monetization from a company's perspective. You could do a lot on one Blocklet if you wanted to, but you're actually taking away from the total value as a company and as a developer if you put too many features all into one blocklet. I feel like the more blocklets you use and the more complex you make, or as many pieces as you make to that one app, you're safer, because if there's malware, if there's something that needs to be revamped or fixed or whatever the case, you could just remove that blocklet, revamp, put it back. Or, let's say if you like that blocklet, you could keep that as an NFT, sell that, because maybe that blocklet, maybe you want to use it for another app, or maybe you have a partner that needs that blocklet. You could sell it or whatever the case. But I feel the bigger companies that are enterprise level would want to use well over 1,000 blocklets to make sure that something enterprise level can never be compromised. Because when you have everything all on one app or one code, right? If something goes wrong, you need to rewrite everything, correct?
So this architect is very similar in the industry called a microservice, which is popular, started around less than 10 years ago, called a microservice. So actually, this is all happened on our white paper. I mentioned that Blocklet architect is a microservice and plus the serverless technology in one. These are two new new technology that has been proven to be easier to build robust and complicated applications with making it much easier. Right? In the old days, in the software architect intend to put everything all together. So make this a very, very big giant. Imagine today is when you have a like Microsoft Office, usually is one of the word, like one word application is probably hundreds megabytes or even gigabytes to have a one Office applications. Right? But if you are using a Linux system, which is Unix system, you usually have a much smaller applications, but all those small applications can work together. So this is one of the principles that actually this is not a new principle. Unix system has been proven to use this kind of do one thing and do it well, and then make things working together. This kind of principle to build a very successful operation systems. And so, yeah, our blocklet is actually having the similar principle. We just encourage people to build reusable blocklets and make them focused to do one thing and really do it well. Do it well means it's a very high performance, it's secured and easy to customize. And the second principle is make things be able to easily to work together. So that's actually very hard. It sounds to be easy, but it's very, very hard.
Well, yeah, absolutely.
So the secret sauce, the secret sauce of our block platform is be able to build a framework to ensure all those kind of different blocklets, they're able to communicate with each other. They're going to play well with each other. So that's actually the secret sauce of our block platform.
That's kind of how I see infinite scalability, to be really honest with you. And the reason why I view it this way is because if every blocklet is reusable, then it could be sold to the next party. Or for instance, like something I watch with like Elon or Jack Dorsey, they have to revamp an entirely new app, or they have to rebuild everything from scratch. If they were using blocklet, even after selling their company, they could have taken pieces of the app that they needed for the next product or whatever the case. And when you're a company and you're using blocklets, you're going to have X amount of blocklets. You could build that up into one mega product and have it made up of 1,000 blocklets or what have you. But if you don't have to sell the entire thing. You could piece it apart and sell each blocklet at a time, depending on what it's used for based on the use case, because each blocklet has its own value. Let's say at base cost for a blocklet will always be base cost. But when you're building value into each use case per blocklet, each blocklet will have a different value to monetize. So the cost may be, what's the cost? It was like 6.66 ABT or something, correct?
It depends on the developers to decide. So this is so our strategy or my principle is completely free market. So when you create a blocklet, right? So how much to sell? It really depends on the market, right? Imagine if a developer, they build application, they build a blocklet, they want to sell it for very expensive, but then nobody want to use it. When nobody want to use it, they make no sales, right? Or the developer can decide,
Robert, but at base price, let's say if I was somebody brand new, I wasn't buying it from another developer, I was buying it from ArcBlock. The base price on a blocklet is 6.66, correct?
No, there's no 6.16 as a base price.
Or am I just thinking of one particular blocklet? Because I remember
you just probably just see one of them sales for 1.6. So that's completely decided by the developers.
Oh, okay.
For all the blocks, our block is ourselves. We're going to build a lot of blocklets, really nice blocklets. All the blocklets will be free. Oh. So that's basically we're going to building a bunch of free components to ensure the developers, they will get all those kind of basic building blocks for free.
Wow.
And but there's a genius developer. They even see one of the blocklet that our block built. He think he can build a better one, right? He create a better one, and apparently if it is better, and he think I want to get paid for this blocklet, he can price it. If somebody else, they think great, this blocklet is actually better than the free one. They can take it. They can use it.
That's even bigger than I thought it was because like when I was going through the menu, I saw a few blocklets at different prices. I thought that was just ArcBlock selling that particular blocklet for whatever use case it was. So what I was looking at was actually somebody's work being sold. That was,
it's somebody's work. So it's a completely.
That's where I got that price from then, because I was trying to look at the price. I was like, I'm trying to figure out how much blocklets are. So that means that this is essentially this is kind of like a gold mine for a developer to build awesome use case blocklets to put on the market. So that way other builders could come build too, right?
Yeah, exactly. This is even bigger. So actually, the way that we modeling the blocklet economic system, I think this is way much bigger, right? So the first step is they can build it, and then they can sell it, right? So they make the revenue from the blocklet they're building. And then some of the, different even the developers, there's so many different developers, but different developers have a different skill set. Some of them are really good at the user experience. They really understand the customer's wants and needs. They're good at building applications, right? Some of the developers, they're not great at the user experience, but they're super good at this kind of high performance algorithm stuff, right? So then developers can focus on the stuff that they're really good at.
Yeah.
You can pick a blocklet, which need a very high performance, need a great algorithm that build a guy who is super good at that. Yeah. Right? And then you can get another blocklet that is only focused on the user experience, or focus on the front end. And you are the guy who understands the market. You understand what customer really want and need. You just piece them together.
So
then that base means
if you're good at
even one very small team.
Okay.
You have all the best developers backing you. The only cost is if those blocklet they are paid, you need to cut the revenue for them. Right. So I think I want to correct you one thing from that diagram I saw you write on the white paper. I think that is amazing, but I want to correct one thing. Is when you reuse the other people's blocklet, first of all, you as a developer, you are not need to pay any money, right? You just use it. You pay nothing. Who is going to pay? Your customer going to pay. When your customer pay you for the whole applications, the smart contract automatically make the cut for the blocklet that person built. So imagine a geeky developers. I build one of the algorithm and let's say I sell for 10 ABT, right? And then somebody, imagine you are a genius guys who know the customer need. You build application and on top of my blocklet, and you sell it for 1 million copy, right? Mm-hmm. So when you sell this 1 million copy, my blocklet get reused by you is also sell 1 million.
Oh
so I'm making I'm making 10 million, almost. Right?
So that's pretty awesome. So it kind of
so this scale is massive. It really depends on how many customers you're going to get, right?
And this is kind of done through the NFT marketplace in a way, because each blocklet is represented by an NFT ownership, like a title, and you could build into it revenue splitting, is what you're saying, basically, right? Where you could program it into where you still get a cut as royalties going forward if that's your blocklet or technology.
Yeah, so the background, the way to implement that is when you try to reuse others' blocklet, you actually get they have a non-fungible token, they have an NFT there. So the NFT basically have a smart contract baked in. So that NFT is not like your JPEG image. That NFT is actually a software license.
Oh, wow.
Represented by NFT. So technically, when you reuse my blocklet, right, you embed one piece of my NFT. So this NFT authorize you to use my software license to use in your software and resell it.
Oh my gosh.
Once you agreed to bake this in, the smart contract will automatically enforce to agree that in this NFT license, say, hey, any copy, whenever you make a copy of that, I'm going to either say I'm going to get 1% of your sales revenue, or I'm going to get 10 ABT, whatever your price would be. So it really depends on my decision when I create this blocklet, right? It's also your solo decision to decide to use my blocklet or another blocklet. For example, if you use our blocklet, which is free, that means any revenue you're making, you all come to you. Our block get nothing because we want to kind of boost this kind of economic. Or you use another blocklet, which is costs you something, but apparently this blocklet has a better quality or match your needs better. So this is going to create a gigantic economic system that, but that all based on the software. You're creating something that people want. If you're creating something that is nobody want, no, nothing works, right? So this is very back to the very fundamental of the business. You want to, when you want to make money, you want to build something people want.
And just to touch base on this too, because yeah, the blocklet may be free, but when the developer builds something and then sells it, no matter what currency he's using, it's still going to be converted ABT standard. So there's still a demand being built for ArcBlock, correct?
Yeah, so the smart contract, the way we enforce the whole things, we need a system to enforce that. So that's we call the ABT standard. Is anything that in the blockless ecosystem for the billing part, for the revenue sharing part, we cannot understand what the US dollars, what is Ethereum or Bitcoins in this case. We use ABT as a standard to kind of in exchange for the computing resource, software license, all of those. But when you sell this software, when you sell this service to end users, it really depends on you. You can decide to say, hey, this is only for US dollars. I will not accept for any cryptocurrency. Your end customer may not even know that you're building this with a crypto technology. They're just saying, this is a great application. This is a great service. I'm subscribing this for $100 per month, right? But when you pay your vendors, your vendors are on this blocklet ecosystem. Everything is built with ABT. So this is naturally created. So from the design point of view, this is naturally created demand and the supplies for the ABT itself. And it itself is separated and isolated with other tokens or other ecosystems, right? So I would highly recommend one of the book. Actually, I recommend this book to everybody in my team. It's a book you can buy that from Amazon called the Bitcoin Standard. The Bitcoin standard is about Bitcoin, but it's a new mindset. It's a new mindset. So imagine for the holders, why the holders? For example, I'm a holder, so no matter the market going up or going down, why I can stay calm? Because I'm a miner, I'm a believer of Bitcoin and Ethereum. So no matter how the market changed, did my Bitcoin number going up or down? No, nothing happened, right? Because I didn't trade, I didn't sell it. It remained the same. So when you have a different standard, you will think. So if you think Bitcoin is the standard, you will see, okay, US dollars is such a kind of a currency that is so not stable, right? It's compared to Bitcoin, the US dollars value change all the way up and down, right? So it really depends on when you're thinking something. What is the standard? So in terms of a cloud computing, new generation cloud computing system we are building. So in this world of this cloud resourcing exchange, ABT is a standard. This is the media of exchange to measure all those kind of resource use, all those kind of software license. We don't care this piece of software become more expensive in terms of US dollars. It's just, for example, one hard drive, right? One storage, one T storage in the system is remain the same for the use of an application. It does not change when the storage price is dropped or the price is going up.
So it'll stay.
Right?
So if I was selling it, let's say if I set it at 10 ABT, it don't matter what the price is on the ABT, it'll just stay that price, 10 ABT. So let's say if ABT is $1, $30, $50, it's still going to be 10 ABT because that's the standard, and I set it at that price. Correct?
Yeah, because in our blocks cloud computing system, it does not. The system itself does not know like the price to the fiat. It's only know, okay, this piece of storage, this piece of computing resource, this piece of bandwidth, they have to measure on some way, and this way does not change. With that kind of a basic standard, then you can build a system for exchange all those kind of resources easily, right?
So I have I want to get to some juicier questions, you know. So let's move on to the next stuff. All right, so you told me that you had some new people you've been working with, or you had some partners, things of that nature, or some companies that are maybe looking to build something. So I did want to let you take the wing on that. But before we get to that question, I had just a quick one, okay? So let's talk about how you felt about DID becoming a W3C standard recommendation, and what does that mean, and why does that make ArcBlock so special?
Okay. I write a blog, I write a blog, the blog's title said when DID core become one of the W3C recommendation, that day is basically like an independent day of the internet identity. I write a blog. It's a coincidence leak, and the DID core become the standard on the July, right? So that's I think that they approved that before July the 4th, and then it officially become the standard around July 15. So it's a coincidence. It's a happy coincidence that it's very close to the Independent Day. So I write that blog. So I think that is the important milestone. And I'm pretty excited about it.
Now,
and I'm very proud as one of the company that believed in the DID since year 2017 and built something since year 2018. And we are, from one part, we're betting on this new technology, and we put a lot of effort building together with the community. But from the other point of view, I think it's really nature, right? So from a technical point of view, when I evaluate all those technologies, all those other standards at the time, I think the DID has the most potential, and so the time proved that we are right.
If this is a recommendation, wouldn't that mean that all wallets would need to have this type of framework?
So unfortunately, as a W3C recommendation is not a law, right?
Yeah.
So it's just a recommendation that usually the people, the company play by the rules, usually going to follow, try the best to follow. But there's no law saying, hey, you have to do that. But I believe W3C, right? For example, right now, everybody are using the HTML, right? We are using browser. The browser was controlled by the big company right now. But people are still kind of following the recommendation by the W3C. For the decentralized identity, actually, W3C have a lot of recommendations. Some of them are adopted really well. Some of them are not that adopted well. And but I think having...
DID.
Sorry, what's your question?
I said DID seems to be everywhere. You know, the more and more I dig, a lot of people believe in it. I believe even Jack Dorsey believes in DID as well.
Yes, so Jack Dorsey's TBD, and the company for the Web5 believed in DID, and they are correct, W3C DID. And the Blue Sky is a real DID. And don't be overexcited, because right now in the crypto space, I would say most of those crypto space DID project, unfortunately they're not DID. They're even on the opposite side of the DID. Because, you know, in the crypto space, there are always people who are very good at marketing. Whenever they smell something is going up, right? So they're going to kind of use this as a marketing tools.
Yeah.
I say this is a good thing. So that actually means even the scammers understand that this DID is going to be huge. So that likely is going to be huge, right?
Yeah.
So those scammers sometimes they have a good smell.
So would you say you're confident? You're confident?
Yeah.
So all right, so let's get to the part.
It takes time. So right now, probably a lot of people just kind of leverage the name of a DID, but they're doing something that is not DID. But if it takes the time, when the time is longer, people who are really doing the DID eventually going to flow up, going to rise up, right?
Yeah. So some quick facts that I realized. So I noticed the date when you got the recommendation from W3C. I want to go ahead and just kind of give people just a fun fact about ArcBlock. You know, you've never had an exchange list you. You know, I thought it was pretty awesome that, you know, only a few days after you got this recommendation that Coinbase listed the company. And I thought that was pretty awesome because, you know, you've never paid anybody to list you. You just focused on building, and you know, the industry just recognizes you and sees the opportunity. And like you said, they smell that DID is becoming more and more a necessity. And I think with this whole thing with SBF, with centralized exchanges, and what DID could do, what your wallet could do when it comes to even a decentralized exchange, if somebody takes that opportunity to build using your technology, that's a huge opportunity. You know, I think that's the reason why they went and listed you, personally. But I also want to talk about another cool fact about Robert is he's also part of the Forbes Council as well. You're a council member on Forbes, or what was?
Yes, I just become one of the Forbes technical councils. So that's councils. The coolest thing for this is I'm going to have a column, and so honestly, I'm really need to improve my English writing skills, and so I'm planning to write more articles for them. Yeah.
That's awesome. So let's keep going. All right. So you had some names to drop, or you had some partnerships that were going on. I did see a new NFT project out there that was possibly using the DID as well. I forget what the name was.
Yeah. So there's a few NFT projects that are going on and are working on our blocks, and some of them are just NFT project that built on top of our blocks technology, and another of them is actually trying to building NFT tools that help to build the next generation NFT way better, especially for the creators who do not have enough knowledge of blockchain and NFT, but they're amazing at the art and amazing at the creation, right? So there's still people, even though decentralized app, DID, they're very new. And we never try to attract people by airdropping or by giving those kind of grants. But instead, what we offer is, hey, we can offer the best technology, we can offer the best customer service for the developers. So there's still a few of the developing teams, they realize that they know our value. So good things were coming up soon.
Could I add to this? Let me explain to everybody why it's so important that you use DID wallet. And look, just experience the user friendliness, okay? Just experience the user friendliness and follow those NFT. I think it was called, I forget what the name is, like Ganga or something. But look, just utilize the wallet or just see what it's like. Try it out, because Robert did some testing for us, or he offered some airdrops. And then also, there was the company doing NFT purchases when they were minting the NFTs. I just think it's important people see how easy it is to use, because usually when people do airdrops or when they do, you have to do, you know, you're setting trust lines, you're doing all a bunch of different steps. But with DID wallet, I literally just downloaded the app that had the wallet, and you just did a gift card, a little QR code. I scanned it, I instantly got my airdrop, I instantly got my NFT, and the user friendliness is so much faster and easier with DID wallet that I think eventually this is going to catch on to the point, because it's like you say, it comes naturally. It really does. It comes naturally. Now, do you have anything else working? I did hear some stuff about LinkedIn. I hear there's companies doing a little bit of something with you, but I wanted to let you kind of drop that for us.
Yeah, we can. As I always, I do not want to announce for the partners, but yes, indeed, there's a people working with us to building cool new stuff, and it takes longer than I thought, and that software is hard, right? Yeah. So look at it in the past few years in the blockchain, in the DApp space, in the DeFi, how many projects come and go, right? So It's important to have something that is solid, building solid, built with this kind of customer first, and they last longer, right? So, for example, like the story like SPF, like FTX, it's not about how kind of big or how fast they grow. It's about how long they can stay. The longer they can stay, the longer they can prove themselves to create the real value for the customer, the longer this project will be, right? I think the decentralized applications itself is like that. DApps have this concept, have this buzzword for a long time. So when Vitalik write the white paper for Ethereum, I highly recommend everybody who in this space read the white paper of Ethereum, because Bitcoin white paper, if you're not in the computer science, you don't understand what it's talking about. But the Vitalik's white paper, Ethereum, is very easy to understand. It's all about the DApps. So also, I highly recommend people read our blog's white paper. It's a little bit technical, but I think it's easy to understand. You will see everything we're talking, everything we're releasing. So that's a vision. That's a vision in year 2018, 17. We have already stayed there, and you will see we actually did that, execute that so well. But everything, building a software takes time. Right. Yeah. So in the past, like internet, the rising of the internet takes a few decades, right? So internet go mainstream in 95, sometime around 95, but the protocol of the internet was built in the 60s, right? Yeah. It's take a few decades to get there. So the blockchain technology is already be way much faster because the technology, everything has been improved. But blockchain, if we're counting from the Bitcoin's white paper, that's year 2008. That's already more than a decade, right? So it's taken more than a decade to get something to the mainstream. So the DApps also takes time. But we already see there's quite a few things already be there. Right. So I always like to use this. One of my favorite authors. The future is already here. It's just unevenly distributed.
Yeah. So another question that some of the members asked, and everyone kind of is already catching the feeling that you're somewhat secretive. You're holding some cards too close to the chest. But we were talking earlier. You have about 30 employees or so, about 20 to 30 usually, depending on what you're doing. So could you tell us more about the team and for some of the team members that you're withholding, there's a reason for that as well, right?
Yeah, so I'm from the team point of view. I'm probably a little bit kind of old school guys because I'm from a traditional software industry, and I also experienced those kind of a talent wars that your employee get hired by your competitors. All of those problems. So and also for the blockchains technology is really need a very stable team, purely focus on the technology. But actually, if you're developers, you are in our developer community, you will familiar with a lot of our folks like Shijun, like Nate Robinson. All of them, they are actually our real developers. They are all our project leads, leading different things. They're just like me, very easy to approachable. But I do not want them to have a fancy resume showing the background. Yeah. What's the point? Right? So the art blocks platform, the value of the platform is not to represent who built them. It should be represented by the self. It doesn't matter. Like nobody know who is the real guy behind Bitcoin, but we all believed Bitcoin, right? So we all know, SPF, how fancy, how cool he is, all the story about him, right? So does that matter? It does matter. It's about the product itself.
Yeah, and that product was terrible, as we could see. But that's what's awesome about you. It's like, you focus more on the technology, and what's crazy about this space is the crypto space is ran by a lot of sensationalism. It's ran by a lot of marketing over product. And, I think that needs to end already. Instead of focusing so much on marketing and marketing and marketing, there should just be more emphasis on the technology. And, a lot of times, and the reason why people are so adamant of trying to find out, who you're working with and this and that. I know you used to be part of the elite team at Microsoft Research, right? And does that get, you don't really blast that, a lot of the things that we had to uncover about you and your resume, about all the great things you've done in the past, from some of the most popular apps out there in China, to some of even the cooler things. Like I learned about the levitating app. I thought that was awesome, and I still think there's a market for that, to be honest with you.
Yeah, so that app was built for a half a day, and it was an interesting idea. But that app make to the number 2 best sell app in the United States and remain in the top 100 for a year in iPhone App Store. So that's a part of the startup life. You have to experience different things.
Yeah.
And I'm a big believer of the Peter Thiel's. One of the book I really like is From Zero to One, right? Mm-hmm. So I suppose everybody, have you read that book, From Zero to One?
I have not.
Oh, I highly recommend. That book is amazing. It's basically like my business Bible.
Well,
I think one thing I really like what he said is the best marketing should come from the product itself. The best product going to sell by itself. Right? So in the crypto space, why today the marketing and the promotion sounds to be so important? The only reason you can explain is there are not enough good product over there yet, right? Mm-hmm. So once there's a great product over there, the product going to take care of the marketing by itself. I'm not saying the marketing is not important. I think marketing is super important, but how to do it? So I think the correct way doing the market is first you have an amazing product, mm-hmm. and then you do the market, and then you create a positive loop. The product going to sell itself.
Well,
this is our blog going to be. We're going to first have an amazing kicking ass product, and then we don't need to do all those kind of marketing, say, hey, who I am, what I achieved before. It's not important. It's also not important to say how amazing our developers, win what kind of award in their university. It doesn't matter, right? What matters is the product itself.
I like that you focus on that so much, because, a lot of people when they're doing research on ArcBlock, they go back in time. They always go back in time. And they see the different people that you've worked with, some of your personal associates, some of your advisors and investors over the time. Mm-hmm. But, I remember when I first met you, I started name dropping all these different people that you've worked with or that want to work with ArcBlock, like Ding Li, mm-hmm. or the guy from Telenav. There's just a lot of different big names where I'm like, what's going on? This and that. And you're like, focus on the technology.
I have done a lot of things, so I have a lot of friends. They're all my good friends, and they sometimes support me directly. Some of them are just to get advice from them. But over time, I will have more of those kind of allies and friends who are similar as me, who are builders, mm-hmm. who deeply believe in the product, believe in the technology and product.
That's awesome. So, I know you have a revamp for the website coming up, and keep in mind, guys, look, the website, if you do some digging, it's a nice website. There's going to be revamping, but, is that really that important right now? Not really. The point of the matter is you have a completed product and a platform ready to build now. That's the point.
Yeah, so we're building a new website, but people might curious. Hey, what's the problem? Why is it so slow? It's indeed a little bit slow, and indeed a little bit more difficult. The reason why, because our blog's website is built on our blog itself. It's appear as a normal website. You don't see a difference, right? But actually what's behind our blog website is our blog itself. Everything is blog-led, everything We have dog fooding for our own stuff for years, and now we're going to update the whole things. And
So that means
so
you
it
own
takes,
that website.
yeah, it takes a little bit harder than just using ready-made editors to create the website. But we're going to get there. So I'm sorry that we always kind of deprioritize them when we try to build something, when we have new customers. Recently, mostly it's because we have a new customer, we want to support them. And we kind of shift a lot of our time to work together with the customers. One of our customers, one of the team who built our platform, yesterday I just talked to him. He thanked a lot. He said, "Hey, I basically like working with you. He's basically like I hired like a top-notch developer work for me for free." I said, "Okay, yeah." So, but I really care about that. So, if you're a team, no matter you're just like one guy want to build something, if you really build on top of this, I promise you're going to get the first-class support, right? So.
Yeah.
So whenever there are any issues, any bugs, our team developer, are going to write the code for you to ensure that is going to be better. So that's actually most of my focus is focused on building it, right? So I'm beginning to. So for example, thanks a lot for giving me the time for the interviews. So I'm beginning spending more time to try to. Express better to let the people know, hey, what's going on, because our product is going to Prime soon, and it's time for me to do a little bit more marketing. But in the past, I usually do not want to spend the time because I think it doesn't matter. No matter how, what kind of vision I say, if the product doesn't fly, if I say something really good, but there's nothing you can really use. Your team developer will find out this is fishy, right? But now I promise I'm going to spend more time on talking about how amazing the platform is. And more important is we have everything we have a solid back on the product side.
That's perfect, and I've always felt the same way, like I'm trying to build my own project, and I always tell my community the same thing. It's like a lot of projects ask for everything. They spend all this money on marketing and they have nothing. They don't have a platform, no product, no service, and I'm a big believer in providing a product first. Or focusing on building the product first, like before going and marketing and doing all this extra stuff. And that's one thing I liked about ArcBlock was you guys have already put the time in and you're right on time. It's so weird because everything that's going on right now, all the things that are needed, digital identification, real Web3 applications, a lot of these things are things that we need right now. And all the things that are hurting us are from the past, the centralized stuff that's hurting us now. And it seems like the timing has never been more perfect for ArcBlock to kind of rise out of the shadows here. Is there anything that we could look forward to from here, or do you have any other announcements you'd like to make or anything before we let you go on this?
I think I'm good because I'm always here, right? You don't need me to announce and then gone, right? So whenever you have questions, shoot me the questions, and I will I will do the podcast myself and try to share more videos about our product and. Especially for my podcast, just to use your time for that advertising.
No, absolutely, absolutely.
It's going to be. So I'm planning to do two type of podcasts. One is product demo. Is hardcore product demo. I'm going to demo you. What is the product? What it looks like? How to use it? It's easier to understand. Even you're not a technology person, you will see how it works, right? Not just the empty talk. It's all the real product. Yeah. I'm also trying to do another type of podcast. Is more for the developers. It's just code together with me. I'm going to do the code from scratch and how to use the platform, how to take advantage to build a blocklet and eventually build application. And all those kind of applications I build, I'm going to kind of synchronize that open source in the GitHub. Build together with, for example, I'm planning to say, hey, build together with Robert for a month to build an amazing DApps. So I'm going to write the code, live broadcast of how to write the code, and do that together. And so that's that. I can imagine this is probably the most important thing I'm doing in the next like 12 months is to get the people using our platform feel how amazing we are and what we can build something together.
You could count me in. I want to utilize what I could utilize. I just want to get my app out first. We're literally I'm hoping within the next week or so we could deploy the app, and I want you to play with it and see what you think of it. And kind of see what we could do together too. I know that you integrate with Stripe as well for business payments. I know that you're there for other developers and other projects to help them as well too. And I'm just really happy with everything I've seen so far. And one more thing.
Yeah, totally.
One thing I want to clarify too. So before I let you go, I completely forgot about this question. I just got it in my Discord right now. So could you explain real quick? Okay, so you're a layer 1, correct?
Yeah, our block itself is a cloud computing platform, right? So inside this cloud computing platform, we have our blockchain. We call it Open Chain Access Protocol blockchain. So this blockchain's purpose is used for a BOS system, is a billing and operation support system, right? So this is a blockchain optimized for high performance billing and revenue sharing and for the operation support. Right? So this blockchain is a layer 1 technology blockchain, and our blockchain can bridge up with Ethereum, and we use a roll up. Technology. So in terms of that, from the Ethereum's point of view, you can regarding like our block is a layer 2. Compared if you are Ethereum centric, right? But from the purely technology point of view, our blockchain is a layer 1 blockchain, and if we look at like our blocks centric point of view, you can say any of other Ethereum's or any other blockchain that talk to our blockchain, they are our layer 2, right? So they're layer 1, layer 2. There's no specific meaning or definition right now in the blockchain. It's just a relative term for people to try to kind of easier to understand what is layer is belongs to.
Gotcha.
And our block platform is beyond blockchain. We have a blockchain is just a small piece of that. The more important part is the DApps, is Blocklet framework is a way that you can build and run the DApps.
So you do have your own blockchain, basically, is what you're saying.
Yes.
Okay, gotcha.
Yes.
Besides that, I think we covered just about most of the questions, and I appreciate your time, Robert. I think this has been one of the best videos that we've had for sure, and I can't wait to have you again. And again, guys, look. Robert is so.
You should say the best video is the next one, not this one.
Okay, the next video would be the next best one will be the next one. So, but one thing, guys, make sure that you follow Robert on his Twitter account, Robert Mao, and then also ArcBlock's Twitter, and keep in mind that he is open to talk to at any time, especially if you're a developer looking to maximize on ArcBlock. Communicate with Robert, and look again, I'm going to continue trying to do my best for Telegram, but the bots are just rampant. So guys, utilize I have a free channel on my Discord, but you can also use the Twitter. I think the best form of communication is to use Twitter directly. Robert communicates all the time through there. Follow him on there. Make sure you find them on YouTube as well. And we'll just kind of go from here. And, I appreciate your time, Robert, and I'll see you on the next one.
Thank you.
All right.
All right. Good. All right. But actually, I also need to go.